Welcome to Make the Grade with the Success Doctor, Stephen Green, where you'll discover actionable strategies to help your student to reach their academic goals, to excel at standardized testing, and to plan for the college admissions process painlessly. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Green.
Hey everyone, Steve Green here, the Make the Grade podcast. I got a guest today, Jeremy Boerger. Hopefully I'm saying it right.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to talk finances. Anybody think about money, the importance of money, use of money, best uses of money, money in education, money in your retirement, money in your life? We got the good guy for this today. Jeremy, how you doing? Welcome.
Doing well, thank you, Dr. Stephen.
Let me tell you about this guy. I said it right, Boerger, right?
Oh yeah. It's crazy German spelling, but you did fine.
You got like a funky spelling there. We'll get into that later. Jeremy is an asset manager. Started back in 2000 with the Y2K bug. Remember Y2K? That's kind of like way long ago now. At that time, his approach was called ITAM in a way no one had tried before. And you can explain that because I'm not sure what that means. He began combining data theory with automation and self-governance while consultants were answering tickets and running inventories. So he's got some science here. He's got a system. I love systems. The pragmatic ITAM method, which he's invented, grew out of the success of his experiments. Today, companies and organizations hire Jeremy to implement better solutions to coach their team to ensure positive, permanent results. He's written a book. Congratulations. Rethinking Information Technology Asset Management. Oh, that must be what it stands for. And it is a bestseller on Amazon. We have had a series of bestsellers on this. It's cool. He tours the country speaking at tech conferences and symposiums. He is on the board of advisors of Neocor, a startup which looks to leverage benefits of blockchain tech, which is I love block tech stuff. And it's in the software asset management space. He's also had Boerger Consulting. He's worked for Mercy Health, Atos, JPMorgan Chase, General Electric, and TriHealth. Man loves to travel. And he's staring at multiple monitors. Oh, staring at multiple monitors.
Yes.
You got look. He sent me this thing. It's like a font of 1.5 here. Anyway, and he lives in Cincinnati with his wife, his kids, and a very large dog. So let's start out here. You've been a money manager 20 plus years.
Well, it's not money manager. It's actually hardware and software assets. So it's much more focused on how organizations control their spend around laptops, desktops, office subscriptions, and the like. When you think about it, most medium and large organizations, about 10% of their operational budget goes to the IT department. And if you're not careful, you can keep feeding the beast and suddenly you've got issues. Cybersecurity hit, license audit where you're using more software than you paid for. And then you got to ask yourself as a business leader, where do we make that up? And it's almost always layoffs, pulled out benefits, and the really nasty stuff. So I'm one of those folks that help those organizations keep from getting into that position.
Jeremy, in general, let's say a typical company spends what percentage of their cost on this sort of thing?
It's around 10%.
Okay.
So it is not insignificant. Yes.
No, not at all. You got a $100 million company, you're talking $10 million.
And sometimes up, especially if that $10 million company is in cutting edge technology, like,
so
they do a lot of computer assisted and the like, so it can even grow even farther. So
how'd you get into this? You just woke up one day and said, well, I'm going to figure this out, or?
Actually, kind of, yes.
There you go. Okay. So take us through, sir.
So
it was a dark, windy night in Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, I was, so if you think back to can I say the turn of the century? Because I mean, just like that's really what it was. Yeah. Anybody and their brother who could fog a mirror was being thrown at this problem with the Y2K.
Yeah,
And
they were like t-shirt. It was like a
oh
social
yeah,
phenomenon. If those of you who are too young to remember this or just forgot it, period.
right,
Yeah.
right.
It was going to be the end. There's going to be a cataclysmic end of technology as
Yes,
we knew it.
if we didn't fix it. So
Yeah.
nothing happened. So what does that tell you? Did we overblow
Fixed
it?
Well, either it wasn't really a problem to begin with, or somebody fixed it.
Yeah, no, and it really was a bit of a problem. You would have had a lot of systems and a lot of dependencies really struggle with this. And so I was helping out a company. I was fresh out of college and hungry for a job. My background actually was philosophy and history from the University of Dayton. And so kind of an odd pivot to go from liberal arts into computers. But I had we did a good job. And my boss at the time, my mentor, Bill Harley, we finished the job, and he's like, I really don't want to lose you now that the issue's over. But we have a Microsoft license agreement renewal coming up. Can you figure out what we owe Microsoft? And me being young and freshly married, it's like, sure, no sweat, that'll be easy. And I have a knack for this. And fast forward 20 years later, I've continued to keep doing that, keep refining, keep chipping away at this problem. And to the point that I have a book and a unique offering, and decided to strike out on my own as a solo entrepreneur.
When did the book timeline wise come into this?
So I started really getting into it about the 2015, 2016 timeframe.
Okay, nice.
And I had gotten a really good win against Microsoft again. And I don't like to get too deep into the details, confidentiality with clients and such.
Point is, you're on a roll. Jeremy is on a roll. That's all we need to know.
But we realized that we were able to save this one. It was a hospital, about $1.5 million out of their $15 million license subscription for Microsoft Office.
That's a lot of cabbage.
It's a lot, yeah, especially with hospitals and healthcare. The margins are pretty thin. So any little bit that we can get, we can help, And so I was invited to make a presentation at the SAM Summit in Chicago, where a bunch of like-minded people kind of come together, and I was throwing this out. And at the end of the presentation, I had a friend of mine come up. Sandy Conrad is her name. She works over at Infotech, which is a big technology research firm in Canada. Okay. And she looked at me point blank and said, nobody comes at this problem this way. You should write this down. And it's like, well, okay, we'll give it a shot. And it took a couple of years, so that was 2015. I started my company in 2017, and the book is published in 2020. So it took a while.
So let's swing this in the direction of being an entrepreneur. At least a little bit. So you really didn't set out to be an entrepreneur, at least from what I'm hearing you say, right?
No, not at all.
You got out of college, you needed a job, kind of sort of lucked your way into what turned out to be a career.
Yeah.
Right. You liked it. You had some skill at it. You came up with a unique angle to it. Now you're an author. Now you decided to strike out on your own. I guess kind of maybe wrong word choice, but it's sort of in a consultative capacity, right?
Yeah.
So you're kind of doing the same thing now, but you're writing your own ticket instead of working for somebody else. Beautiful. Right. What was that like? Describe, because we got a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to this. That's a cliff you got to jump off of for a lot of people, into some shallow water sometimes. How describe that experience for you, good and bad?
Unadulterated panic. So
okay. Panic.
Now,
Okay.
in my family, I have a lot of entrepreneur solo practices. One of my dad's brothers was a longtime dentist for a number of years while I was growing up. I have a aunt that was a longtime beautician. I had another uncle that ran a machine shop in Greenville, South Carolina, or is it North Carolina? I get them mixed up.
Yeah,
So
I think there's one in each state, actually.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I had this kind of like familial resources that I could tap into, and ask them, what's it like to put your shingle out? And
how many of them said, Jeremy, run the other way as fast as you can? Don't even put you got a great business. You're making bank. What are you doing this? Why are you doing this to yourself?
My Uncle Chris really gave me the finger wag. It's like, it's like, he was a dentist for 40 years. And it's like, okay, so at what point in time do you stop waking up in the middle of the night in a panic? And he looked at it and he's like,
next year.
Hasn't stopped yet.
Yeah. Well, but look, let's address this real quick. Because
sure.
I want to stay on point, but
yes.
Part of why people do that is because they're chasing a dream.
Yeah.
And they want freedom. They want freedom to decide. I've had this isn't the direction we need to go, but I've had plenty of guests on this podcast and plenty of people I've spoken to who will tell you the importance of structure and process and operations. And that's all just a matter of doing business. And it's sometimes the reason why entrepreneurs don't succeed, because they don't have good operational things. But in your case, it seemed like you had an interesting niche. You had a niche that was really pretty unique. So I'm going to guess your biggest challenge was just getting clients to understand what you could offer that was different, that was already out there. You had a unique value proposition.
Exactly. Right? And it was defining that value proposition that was really tough, right? Because being a full-time employee for an organization, your value proposition was already set for you, right? It was in your HR description. So how do you craft something out of whole cloth that describes what you do and is at least compelling enough for somebody to say, yeah, I'll put money down on that. I got a really good piece of advice from a friend of mine, and he's actually the owner of a brewery here in Cincinnati that conveniently enough is about 3 blocks away from my house. But his piece of advice was really clear. He said, there is always room in the market for good product. And that I really kind of took to heart, right? So in Cincinnati, we've got microbreweries popping up all over the place. It's really a wonderful time if you're a bit of a sud head, right? But for Andy's point of view, how do you compete with all of these people? His good product is unique recipe, great atmosphere. You compel people to come in and you tell people about it and they come in and try it. So for my perspective, in the asset management world, IT asset management, ITAM, there is not a lot of people that do this. A couple of years ago, LinkedIn did a study. There's only about 35,000 people in the world that are qualified to act as a ITAM or software asset manager, a SAM. Okay. So you think about all the companies in all the world, 35,000 people doing this.
Yeah,
that's not a lot.
So you got a lot of business for everybody.
Yeah, and then thanks to some of my friends like Sandy and my mentor Bill and the like, I realized that I have a unique process for identifying the issues, for getting data correlated and organized quickly, and then being able to teach the other folks that are there. Here's how you do this. Here's what the warning signals are. Now you know better and get going, have at it. And it's been really successful. So that's when you're thinking about striking out on your own, that one piece of advice I think really sticks with me. There's always going to be room for good product. You got to know what your market is. You got to know what your product is, and you got to know what good means.
Often when I talk to people who went through this stage, at some point there was some break. They got, I don't know, they got a contract that springboarded them to other things or whatever. Did you have an experience like that? Was there something that really got you in the major league, so to speak?
I did. It was actually a contact who had heard my presentation at the SAM Summit. Okay. And a couple of months later, they were actually having trouble starting up their own program at his company. And on a lark, he reached out to me. And it's like, look, we're having some of the same problems that you had talked about. How do I solve this? How do we go about this? And the more we started talking, the more I realized, I could be helping more people. Instead of being in my own company or as a full-time employee for somebody else, there's a need out here. And Scott was his name, and he was really helpful in giving me that first shot, that first at bat. And after that, it has been, I won't say that it's easy, but it has been slowly but surely building up steam. So, yeah,
could you have done both? At least, did you quit your job and become an entrepreneur the next day, or did you have a phase in, phase out? Because sometimes, listen, I know everybody wants to be an entrepreneur but sometimes that safety net's nice. Well, you got health insurance, you got benefits. I mean, that's a nice little perk for a lot of people.
Right.
What was your transition like, Jeremy?
So I am not just was, but am very lucky that my wife has a very stable job and does really good work in the project management space.
Okay. So you had that as a secure.
Yes.
So you don't have to worry about health insurance or whatever.
Right. She was my safety net. Now, the bonus is she's also a project manager. So when I told her this crazy idea, she's like, fine, but you're going to have a plan.
Yeah.
So she,
she should be saying that to you.
I'm probably one of the few people that have a Kanban, and I have meetings with her, and it's like, here's what's on, and here's the ticket on that ticket. You should see the scribbles on my whiteboard. Yeah, she keeps me on a short leash. But yes, you're right. To know when the right time is. I was very lucky.
Very critical.
That a lot of the household concerns could be taken care of with just her salary.
So you weren't bootstrapping in the traditional sense.
Correct.
You had a job, so hopefully you had some capital saved up. You had contacts from that job. So you were in a good spot. How much did your book help you or help propel you in this journey? Did it create more status for you? Did it kind of level you up to some degree?
Exactly. It's both a loss lead and credentials.
Yeah.
So it becomes, I pass it out like candy. I mean, between you and me, it's great. But I have a very understanding publisher, Business Expert Press. I'll give them a quick plug. They're really good as a technical manual and how-to process. So I treat it as kind of the next step beyond the resume, almost. Do you want to talk to the person that wrote the book? So nice. A lot of times my conversation is at a convention or speaking engagement. Look, here, have a free copy on me. Happy to give it to you. But here's the chapters that I think would really help you with your struggle. And if you think that you need more help, then give me a call. And so that's been the real mechanism. I don't ever pretend to want to make money.
Yeah, it's exactly the same strategy, I guess, if that's the word I use with my book.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote it as an information source, partly to really be an information source, but also to elevate my stature, not in an ego way, but in a professional way.
Oh, yeah.
And also to give some credibility, because I had a circle I ran in and people knew me and knew what I was doing. But as I broke into new areas, especially nationally, because I've been in the virtual teaching space for a long time, not just since last March. And so, when you're an unknown quantity and you're an unknown commodity in a market, you need to have something to hang your hat on.
Right.
So to say, like best-selling author, get my book, go to my website, get a free excerpt or free video from it, whatever. That creates credibility and sustains it.
Well,
Are you did you like writing the book? Was it a labor of love, or did you have to pull it out of yourself?
no, I hated it. I really did. I hated it. I realized very early, I am not a writer. I've got this idea, but I sit down and pound on keyboards, just cannot do it.
So you know how I wrote my book? Well, the first one I wrote, I had an old phone. I had an original iPhone, like the iPhone, like the one that was sort of circular in the back.
Right.
I discovered the voice memo.
Yes.
And I literally just talked the phone.
I
talked the phone into, or talked the book into my phone, sent it to a transcription service. And it was actually kind of costly back then. Now they're cheap. And then I took that, I got it back as a text file, put into Word or whatever I was using at the time, and tweaked it.
Yeah.
And so really it was kind of painless. And I was always a big blogger, so I like to write, but blogging is different. That's 15 sentences. I mean, that's a book. You have to have so much more continuity. And I just wrote a chapter in a book, and even that was more work than I expect. Writing is work. Writing is.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of respect for professional writers. It's an art, but it's also a so detail oriented. So what do you give me an idea? Because I think this is going to be interesting. What's a typical day like for you, Jeremy? I mean, assuming you're engaged, not on Sunday, when you're chilling, but what's a typical business day for you? Like, are you engaging with different clients? Are you typically with one client for a extended amount of time?
Yeah. So the process that I have, it's very repeatable, it's very consistent. So that's usually you're exactly right. That's how the day goes. So start and address the boss and tell her what I'm doing and the whole project management thing. But typically I have 2 to 4 clients in flight at any given time. And there's different phases that I walk them through. So some clients end up having to have more of my time and attention and dealing with their details than some of my others that are either at the tail end or have a different issue that needs to be addressed. So a lot of my day then is started by organizing, what do I want to do for today? And at the beginning of the week, it's a question of not just Monday, but the entire week, and try to anticipate what needs to be done and what is going to get done and where I might have some issues come up, and try to anticipate that you're going to get run into issues along the way. And it's okay, right? One of the things, again, tip of the hat to the project managers out there, don't assume that everything's going to take the entirety of your time. Make sure there's a little bit of a buffer in there in case of an overrun. Your real productive hours is not 8 hours a day. It's really 6, because you've got emergencies that come up, telephone calls that happen, and all these other things that end up pulling you away. So in planning out my days, I try to put that take that into consideration. So yeah, that's what the day is. And then from there, it is meeting with a client, organizing, receiving some of their data, organizing it into the charts that we need, and then teaching the client, hey, here's how this works, here's how you develop this report, and here's the warning indicators, the signals that we're seeing inside the data. And yeah, so wash, rinse, repeat.
How do you get access to all this information? Do they have to, it's like an audit you do? Do they have to open their books, so to speak?
Correct.
Oh.
Correct.
I told you the phone might ring.
Oh, no, that's fine. I'm surprised. Again, the four-legged doorbell should be going off to announce the mailman's arrival. So anytime now.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up pretty soon. Hey, by the way, let me do this real quick. This is the Make the Grade podcast. Steve Green, your host. My guest is Jeremy Boerger from the beautiful town of Cincinnati, Ohio. We're talking about asset management, not money, but tech. Very, very cool angle on this. This is all about, this podcast is simple. This is about giving you actions to help accelerate your journey to success. In this case, we're talking about process. I've had so many different guests on here. It is so important to have operational processes in place. I don't care what you're selling. I don't care what you're marketing. I don't care what you're doing. If you're not consistent in how you deliver, you're probably not going to stay in business very long. Believe me, I've been in business 26 years. That's one of the things I pride myself on is I have systems, intake systems, outtake systems, instructional systems. Jeremy, where are you going with all this? Where do you see yourself in, I don't know, 5 years, 8 years, 6 years? Pick a number.
Yeah, retired.
Is this like is this an expanding market? I mean, because everybody's got tech.
Well,
that's not going away, right?
It's not going away. There's not a lot of people that can do this, but there's plenty of demand, and more and more demand is coming. It's almost outstripping the ability of folks to be able to deliver. In my book, I actually put in a chapter on where I see things going.
Oh.
And I see two types of technology that are really that's really going to be instrumental. The first is what you call a digital twin. Right. And there's been a lot of press around social media, metaverse, and those sorts of things. And digital twin is actually that. It is a representation of what's going on in the real world inside the computer model that you make. And how well do you measure what's going on in the real world so that the digital world is as close to actual as it can be, right? So one of my favorite examples of this are aircraft engines, not just because I worked at General Electric, but it's something that if you know how an airplane works, there's almost always, there's always the pilot and the co-pilot. And then on the bigger planes, there's the flight engineer who is paying attention to all the knobs and dials for the jet engines. And that job is getting taken over by computer systems because it's really easy for sensors in the jet engine to tell the engineer or a computer engineer what's going on with that jet engine. And, things like, well, maybe it's running a little rich, so you want to pull back on the fuel consumption a little bit, or, you get the air is a little extra heavy because you've got a cloud you're flying through, so you need to adjust things on the fly. Well, what that is a digital twin. So what happens if you have a computer simulation that says, okay, we know from this other sensor that we're going to be going into a little bit of weather. We're going to need to reroute. We can change, let's assume these changes in the jet engine. Will we make it or not? Or, what other things could happen? And
so it's almost like an AI sort of thing.
Exactly. And it's that meshing of things that
so it's like real data being used to project what ifs.
Right. And then push into decision making. So a pilot or a co-pilot can say, well, maybe instead of flying straight through this thunderstorm, we need to go this direction and how far away.
And not run out of gas.
And not run out of gas and not bounce the passengers all around because there might be pockets of turbulence. And it's these things can happen on the fly. There's a lot of excitement around prototyping, manufacturing items, and what the overall cost is going to be for redesigning the assembly lines. So if you,
in other words, automation.
Right. So if you have a supplier,
you don't really think of it that way. Usually, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think usually people think tech. They think the laptop or whatever sitting at somebody's desk.
Right.
They don't necessarily think about the computers that are controlling, putting a screw in 1 million times an hour into an engine, or putting bottles into a box, or things you see in these, in documentaries or whatever. In my case, very interesting. Yeah, I didn't really think that either. It just kind of popped in. Well, so this is all within your purview of what you can analyze, recommend, consult about.
So we have a tool called a configuration management database that for the longest time has been a one-way flow of data. It's us putting in purchase orders of serial numbers of the computers, who's logging into them, and what they're running. And great, that doesn't really tell us anything. But if we can start getting some two-way communications, this computer is suddenly logging into a new website. Why is it doing that? This other server is getting hit with a IP attack. What other servers run that same configuration that might get targeted next? And so you get these like inspirations in the patterns that the human element can then come in and say, hey, we need to head this off at the pass before it becomes an even bigger issue. So the use of technology now becomes a driver in cost optimization. How many people are really using this expensive software? Do we really need to keep buying that expensive software? Are we getting a return? Are the users actually using it? Or do they fire it up once and then leave it in the background? Well, if they're doing that, we can pull that away and give it to somebody that really needs to use it. And so that configuration then can start to happen on the fly. And it's really exciting stuff. Now,
it's just so, like, in a way, this is like so future shock. Remember that book? Some people out there may not. That was written in like 1970s or something, and predicted a lot of these things and mega trends, these whole ideas. It's clear. I'm in education. I'm in one of the last, obviously a lot of tech in education. Yes. But it's still a lot of times things being transferred around. I can't do it. There's a lot of things going on like this, but there's definitely been an infiltration of tech. I can tell you, I'm in schools all the time. You talk about inefficient use of technology. They buy stuff. They don't, they kind of catalog it. Usually there's some teacher who doesn't have anything else to do. They become the tech guy till they finally bring in IT people. Hey, let me ask you one last thing, then we're going to kind of wrap this together. How would somebody get a hold of you? Do you have any, anything else you want to talk about we haven't gotten into? But listen, how would somebody reach out to you if they want to have a discussion with you, or maybe want to engage with you?
The easiest way is to visit my website, boergerconsulting.com, and it's Boerger, but Google can figure it out, I promise you. Also you'll find me on Twitter, pragmatic ITAM, and LinkedIn. Please feel free to
and all this will be in the show notes as everybody. Nice.
Sure.
And your book once again is called, and where can people get it?
Rethinking Information Technology Asset Management. It's a
mouthful.
It's a bit of a mouthful, but the publisher is it's actually part of a series that the publisher offers. We're very excited. We're seeing some interest in Masters of IT programs.
I'm getting the feeling here, Jeremy's not going to come out and say this, but you're really kind of a pioneer here. I mean, you don't have to be modest. You have, to a degree, maybe not the only person, but you've really created almost a niche that you become the expert in your own niche. It's amazing. You should. This is congratulations. This is really good, because this is not something. Look, this is not something personally I'm that involved in, because I don't have $10 million worth of tech, but it's clear that if you are managing that, you got licenses and you got leases and you got software that you have to upgrade every year, and technology that you got to change every year because it becomes obsolete. It's never a fixed cost. I mean, I got a couple laptops. I maybe buy a new laptop every 3 years. My IT expenditure is not going to break the bank. But if I had 5,000 computers and I'm constantly cycling through, and every one has licensed software that's $300 a year, then you got the antivirus stuff and the link into this and the cloud stuff. I mean, and you're a $2 million company and you're spending $700,000 on your tech. Man, Jeremy is doing it all, man. Hey, anything else you want to add before we go into our close?
Oh, geez, no.
Let me do it this way. Let me make it more specific. What advice would you give to a student or an entrepreneur that had a vision like you did? Maybe isn't even clear, but they have a vision somewhere on how to make it come into reality.
Oh, geez.
And you got 60 seconds.
60 seconds.
I'll give you 15 to think about it. Hey, so this podcast, we do it every day almost. If you want to be a guest on the podcast, while Jeremy's thinking, just reach out. I'm always looking for guests. Look, you never know what you're going to learn here. It's one of the beauties of it. I enjoy it. I hope you're getting as much out of it. The best thing you can do to help me, if you want to thank me, is share this, because the more people to get this information, and even one person's life is positively impacted by this, I'm happy. That's the only thanks I need. Jeremy, what advice would you give?
I feel like I got to be like the great Karnak. Let me put the...
He's got it. Yes, yes.
No, the best advice is do not do this alone. Okay?
Say that again, because that is excellent advice.
Do not do this alone.
Wow.
Okay? So, you know, I have a very understanding wife/project manager that indulged me and is able to keep the lights on and the wheels turning here at home so I can pursue this. I was able to tap into the entrepreneurial knowledge of a couple of family members, and I was given some really good advice from some other entrepreneurs on how they got started. These kind of podcasts like yours, Dr. Stephen, this teaches you, this helps you. You cannot figure this out on your own. All the other big tech entrepreneur folks, they all had help too. Absolutely. And you don't expect you're going to be able to do this all on your own.
Yeah, you don't see the rungs on the ladder when you get to the top. Is a very apt saying.
I remember when and I forget the gentleman's name. He was the head of the European Space Agency, and they were just about to land that probe on a asteroid, and he said very quickly, "Success belies effort." You see somebody that's successful,
think it's easy.
Odds are really good. They were working their tail off. It was not easy. That's why I say, find help. It's okay to find help. You are not going to be the expert in all things business, but you can find people who are, and they will be more than happy to help you out.
Generally, yes. You're right.
The right ones will be.
Everybody, I think, mostly, unless they have time, constraints, is happy to help you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, this is awesome. Hey, you want to play everybody's favorite Make the Grade podcast game?
No,
it's good. It's easy.
Sure.
It's clean. Nothing.
Okay.
It's called your fave five.
Fave five. Okay.
Here's what I'm going to do. This is easy. This is much easier than writing a book, believe me. I'm going to say something, and you tell me your favorite thing in this category. So we'll start with an easy one, okay? Yeah, no, it's okay. Don't overthink it. It's like a Rorschach kind of thing. Color.
Green.
Nice. Best answer you got.
Oh, blue. Oh, wait.
No, color. Green. That's right. It's my favorite color too. I got everything green here. I got a green ball. Nice. I got green chapstick. I got green. I don't know what this is. Something whatever that is. I got a green pencil.
Yes.
I got a green cover for my microphone.
There you go.
All right. This one might be a little harder for you.
Okay.
Favorite place to vacation?
Key West.
Oh, Key West.
Yes, Key West.
Southernmost
We've been
place
there
in
a
the
couple
United
of times.
States.
It's big
What's
Jeremy
that place?
Buffett fan.
Mallory Pier, Mallory Point.
Mallory
You go watch
Square.
Mallory Square. Watch the sunset.
Oh
That
yeah.
is awesome.
Oh
That is
yes.
really awesome. Food.
Tacos.
That, you know what?
From Cincinnati, you have to say Cincinnati chili 3-way, and it's like, no, I'm a transplant, so I'll say tacos.
Now, where are you from originally?
Greenville, Ohio.
Oh, let's see.
Which is
like,
just a couple
I can move
no,
from like
I have,
Arizona to Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, just nothing. But no, I tell you, that's, that comfort food, the crunchy shell with, yep.
It's funny. The guy, I did another interview today, and he said tacos also.
I tell you, no.
But he wrapped him. He took him out of the crunchy thing and put him in like a tortilla wrap. So I said, isn't that a burrito? No, it's tacos within a burrito.
Yeah.
So wait, does Cincinnati have like a famous, like I'm from Philadelphia, cheesesteaks.
Cheesesteaks. No, it's Cincinnati style chili.
Really?
Yes.
I've never heard it. It's good.
Well, it is not chili, and that's the thing that trips people.
What's it made out? What's it made out?
So it's ground beef, but then it's the secret spices. So you get cinnamon, nutmeg, dark chocolate, just a little bit of dark chocolate. Then you get some other. There's some other spices in there.
Is this like in a bowl or like you eat it like soup kind of?
It's served on top of spaghetti.
Really?
And then they will also layer kidney beans and white onions, diced up white onions, and mounds of shredded cheddar cheese. Okay, so there's a whole story behind it. If you guys want to look it up, do look it up.
I'm gonna write that Cincinnati chili.
It is actually good. It is actually really good. I know that sounds
nothing. What's not to like?
It is really good, but it is not chili in the sense that you think chili. So if you're going to approach it as, oh, this is going to be great chili, you're going to be.
It's not chili like in Tijuana.
But yeah, it is. It's good, hearty, working, stiff food. And that's what Cincinnati does.
Okay. Hey, learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Music. Where do you stand on music?
Oh, are you talking like genre? Or are you talking like
genre, artist, song?
So Jimmy Buffett. We're big Parrot
Key
heads.
West. Look at you.
So Key West, Cincinnati, Jimmy Buffett.
Wasting away in Margaritaville.
That's right. His next concert just got announced. Yeah. We've been to every concert since 99.
Really? Nice.
No, 2002.
Look at you. You got a Margaritaville in Cincinnati?
We used to. We didn't.
Really?
It didn't take. No, it was. But he comes through Cincinnati for a concert every year. Sure. It's like clockwork.
Yeah, there you go. Made enough money to buy up Miami, and it went and pissed it all away.
There you go.
Can you name that song? Is that Son of a Sailor?
Oh yeah. No. That's Pirate Looks at 40.
Pirate Looks at 40. That's right. He wrote that for his bartender. Actually, people think it's about him. It's actually about his bartender.
Right.
Anything on your bucket list you want to share?
Yes, I want to buy a sailboat. That's kind of the thing. I've got 3 kids that are getting ready to go into college. So it'll have to be. Is this
like a midlife kind of thing, Jeremy?
Kind of. So when I was younger, my family actually lived for a couple of years in the southwest corner of Missouri. And there's a little, it's actually not little, it's actually a pretty big power reservoir built by the Corps of Engineers in Stockton called Stockton Lake. And it is the best inland sailing experience that you'll ever have. It is absolutely huge. You will see 20-foot sailboats are actually pretty common, but there are a couple of blue water sailors, the 32, 35,
like real boats,
real big
ships.
Ones.
They're ships.
Yeah. And
not only did we learn an incredible amount about tech and asset management, we're learning all about it's like you could be a travel guide.
Yeah, well,
this should be an easy one for you.
Yeah.
This should be an easy one for you. Tech gadget.
Oh, I tell you,
and you can say more than one. I'll give you 2 here.
Oh, you'll give me 2? Okay.
Yeah,
so
assuming you're a tech guy, right? So you gotta
So Tesla. I've got to go with Tesla. And
that's more than a gadget. But okay.
Well, it's an expensive gadget, but
it's a $110,000 gadget. But yeah.
Well, but the auto driving piece is absolutely incredible. It blows your mind.
It scares me. I don't know how much I could trust that.
Well, you shouldn't yet. I mean, there's still a lot.
Yeah, it's cool until it forgets where it's going. But
it's where it's at right now.
The concept's incredible. Like, hey, take me home. I can take a nap. Yeah, but right. I don't know, man.
And you can't do that yet, right? But when you're on the highway and there's little chance of things like flying at you, it can happen. You don't want to be fully reliant on it yet.
Yeah.
But
I got you.
If you've got to take a long drive, and you're constantly worrying about speed and how close and what's that other guy doing.
No, I love the concept. I just something about it. And I'm a tech person.
Yeah. Well,
you a football guy? You ready for the Bengals game this weekend?
Yes. I'm a Chiefs fan.
Whoa, yeah. Oh man. All right. Just to frame this, the Chiefs and the Bengals are in the championship game on Sunday.
Right.
Chiefs are there every year lately. Now, Bengals was not since 1981, or I don't know, the last time they were in the playoffs. 89. So Jeremy wasn't not even born yet. Yeah. Right, well,
yes.
Well, maybe that was a bad question. You excited for the football game?
I really am. Especially after last weekend. That was
incredible.
Talk about heart in your throat. That's the kind of thrills that you want to see.
Yeah, that was exciting. It was. And, it was awesome. Yeah. If anybody out there's listening to a football fan, you know what we're talking about.
Right.
Last one.
Yes.
And this is kind of a trick question. I'll tell you. What's your favorite podcast?
Oh, well, Make a Difference. Make the Grade.
There you go. The Make the Grade podcast. Jeremy, round the table.
Hey, and you even got Terry. Wonderful.
Jeremy, listen, seriously. I enjoyed this. This is something I gotta be honest. I don't know a whole lot about. You educated me, and even better, I hope you educated everybody who's listening to it. It's a really cool niche, and I think it's only going to get bigger. I think you can only go up here in terms of what you can offer. Seriously. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it. Hopefully, maybe we get you back on here when you got something to say. And that's it. Hey, this podcast, it's all about actions that you can use to further and accelerate your class to success, not in the automated Tesla way, but in a purposeful, operationally driven way, right, Jeremy?
That's right.
That's the idea, right? So any feedback, and I was saying, I was making a little bit of joke, but seriously, the best way anybody can thank me for doing this is to share this. Not because I care about 1 million listeners, but because if anybody can be impacted in a positive way and get motivated and get some mentorship by listening to this, I consider that a win. I appreciate that. Jeremy, I'll give you the last word here.
It's been a pleasure, Dr. Stephen. This is just absolutely great. Really enjoyed my time here too. And
I'm going to bring in the theme music.
Oh, yep. Here comes
go ahead.
So no, this is where the they walk you off after the Oscars when you're talking too long.
Right.
So you really
thank the Academy.
No, thank you very much for the opportunity. Look forward to talking to you and your audience again sometime.
We got it. We'll see everybody next time.
Good luck, all. Stay healthy.
Hasta luego.
You've been listening to Make the Grade with the Success Doctor, Stephen Green. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe. For more resources and support, please visit makethegrade.net.